So let's get started today with a question about trading psychology, and I'm going to read it to you once I get back to my inbox. And here we go. I have watched the 1 hour long trading psychology video with SMB and Dr. Brett Steenbarger. If you haven't seen that, that's the video. Jason did an interview about a year ago with Dr. Brett Steenbarger and some of the guys from SMB Capital, Mike Bellafiore, about trading psychology. And we put that exclusive content over on in our training courses. And he said they talk about mindset, not being overconfident, and all of that stuff. They mentioned how at the beginning of one's trading career, they suck pretty much, and how it takes time, years, to improve, right? Typically, you'll hear us say it takes about anywhere between 6 and 18 months, right? You'll hear Mike Bellafiore and those guys say typically between like 1 and 2 years to become a consistently profitable trader. And that's the whole kind of learning process. That's the implementation, whether it's back testing a strategy, whether it's developing your own strategy. That's the demo trading. That's the trading live, but making psychological mistakes and going through kind of the rookie year bumps before eventually kind of finding yourself and hitting that groove. And it's interesting. I don't know if any of you guys are at the point where you've hit your groove. You don't really kind of know when it happens. It just kind of happens. Like one day you just feel like you're in the zone. It all clicks and, you've cut down the mistakes and everything's going according to plan. And usually that takes, a year and a half in, I would say on average. Some people are quicker. Some people are longer, depending on, again, everyone's a little bit different. But typically that's the time frame that you can look for. So it takes years to improve. And that's why you've got regular traders and that's why you have elite traders alike. Ones that are really good at what they do and know how to profit and earn 7-figure incomes from the markets, and those that don't at all, and of course everything in between. I wanted to ask for some clarity so I don't end up with the wrong expectations or the wrong ideas. If it takes time to become a consistently profitable trader, years, if at the start of your trading career you suck and need to improve as a trader, this all to me sounds like you need to have 100 different ideas, 100 different ways to read the market, 100 different strategies. That is why at the start you suck and need to improve, because at the start you may only have one thing, and to be profitable in the markets you need to have many things. This takes time to develop, to get many strategies, to be comfortable recognizing many strategies. So it takes time and you need to improve from this perspective. Makes sense to me. And for you guys that caught the chat earlier, this is where I said the trader is making a false connection, right? Let me ask you guys this. Anything about taking time to learn how to trade, should that be directly associated to 100 strategies, 100 systems, 100 ideas? No, not at all. And the trader's making this false connection. And I would argue this. Maybe the idea that you need to do 100 different things, 100 different ways, that's probably what makes the learning curve take even longer, right? What do we always talk about with traders and why traders get in trouble, right? System hopping, right? System hopping is a big thing for many people, right? Does anybody not know what system hopping is? Right? System hopping is when you go to, it's either you get system hopping, paralysis analysis, all of those things, right? System hopping is when either you work on one system and then you start trading it, it goes to a drawdown, all of a sudden you think it doesn't work, so then you go to the next system. And maybe you don't even start trading it, but you just see every new shiny thing you see on the internet or on YouTube or on Twitter, Instagram, you jump to that. And you're like, ooh, I want to try that. Ooh, I want to try that, right? Shiny thing syndrome is another thing we call it. Ooh, squirrel, right? What are those type of deals, right? That is system hopping. And you never focus your attention on any one thing, right? I always like thinking, I do this in my regular life on every day. I believe, and especially after kids, I notice even more so, right? I have a set energy bar, right? So imagine old school video games, right? Tekken, Street Fighter, right? Streets of Rage. You've got an energy bar at the top of your screen. That is your energy. That is the amount of energy you can focus to any given task, right? Let me ask you guys this. what do you think is going to be more productive? Taking that full energy bar and focusing it on a single task, or taking that energy bar and dividing it by 100 and focusing a little bit on 100 different tasks, right? It's going to be a single task. So we see a lot of traders get in trouble because of that mindset. So I would argue that this is the exact opposite of how you want to think, right? My philosophy is you learn one thing, master that one thing. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I'll finish reading the question. My problem is everything I'm learning here at Tier 1 is pretty much saying don't jump from system to another. Hey, look at that. Just nailed it. Don't have 100 things you are trying to trade. So it's like saying have one system, one set rules to follow. This is where I'm confused. If trading is about doing what is in the plan, meaning the bottom line, trade what's in the plan when the setup happens, if then, buy, sell. If these things do not take place, then we don't take the trade. If that is all it comes down to, staying disciplined and just following what it says like sheep, then what on earth is all this talk about you suck at the beginning, you are unprofitable, you need to improve, etc., etc.? What is there to improve if all you have to do is stick to what is written there to do? It just means do what it says, don't do what it doesn't says. It's a matter of it's not a matter of improvement. It's simply a matter of do it and don't do it. And here's the thing, right? The trader is correct in a sense, right? We still want to improve, and I'll touch on that a little bit later, but it's pretty simple, right? It is pretty simple, right? Trade what's in your plan, right? A good trade is a trade that meets all of the rules of your trading plan. A bad trade is a trade that you break a rule, right? And assuming you have a strategy that has a positive expectancy, right? It's testable, verifiable, and repeatable, right? All you have to do is execute the plan, right? You guys know my little formula. Consistent analysis plus consistent execution equals consistent results. However, there's one big problem here. What do you think is the biggest problem with this? Easier said than done, right? Any of you guys ever try to lose weight or gain weight, any type of a diet, whether you're trying to gain muscle or lose weight or whatnot, right? Or maybe break a habit, smoking cigarettes, something like that, right? It's pretty simple, right? I mean, it's not that hard to lose weight, is it? As far as creating the formula, right? Stop eating the midnight cake. Don't do a whole sleeve of Oreos. No creamer in the coffee. Cut down on the sugar. Move from white bread to wheat bread, right? All that's simple, right? So let me ask you guys this question. How come most people that embark on those goals fail to reach them? It could just be calorie deficient. Work out more. Hit the treadmill. Hit the Stairmaster every day. So if it's that simple, if it's black and white like that, well, how come more people don't do it or don't succeed in doing it? Because it's extremely hard to actually do, right? Trading psychology is the same way. I don't know if OG is in here, right? OG can tell you some stories in the past where we've given out mechanical systems, right? Literally systems that were like a green arrow points on your screen when you should buy and a red arrow points on your screen when you should sell. And OG still would get emails saying, guess what? The strategy is broken. It doesn't work. At the same time, we'd get emails from other people. Dude, this is awesome. It's so easy. It's dummy proof. It's not quite dummy proof, right? Same strategy. Two different groups of people. Some are succeeding, some are failing. Wonder why. The ones that are succeeding are disciplined enough to follow the rules. The ones that are not, they're not. We had this conversation earlier where, we're looking at the countdown clock and George had mentioned, he said, man, it feels like I'm excited about the Q&A. It feels like it's been an hour. I come back, I look at the countdown clock and it's only been 5 minutes, right? We get the same thing when we're looking at a trade, right? You've seen plenty of examples in the live room of, We're looking at a trade. Let's say we got 15 minutes to the hourly candle closes. We have that. We need a higher high, higher close to take the trade. I actually did a YouTube video on this. And we're looking at it 15 minutes and we're like, I want to enter. I want to enter. I want to enter. You guys ever been there, right? It's like 10 minutes left. Ooh, the market's moving away. It's moving away. It's moving away. It's ticking higher. Ooh, my reward is getting smaller. Ooh, my risk is getting bigger. Ooh, right? And then it's like, is it 9 o'clock yet? It's only 8:50. And then what? And then what does the undisciplined trader eventually do? I'm just gonna get in right now. I'm gonna get in right now. Close enough, right? Breaking a rule. So it's in theory, it's simple. I mean, life is simple in theory, right? The actual execution is harder. So you're right that's what, we should follow our trading plan like sheep. We should be robotic. That is the goal. Getting to that point is extremely hard, right? And going back to the kind of the idea that, well, if all it takes is one thing to be successful, how come it takes years to be a consistently profitable trader? And we'll go back to kind of the path I showed you before, right? Are we going to learn how to trade in a month? No, right? So here's what I always recommend people do here on the platform, right? I say, you want to go through the training content twice. You want to go through it the first time, watching every single thing to get an overview of everything we have to offer, right? Starting from the basic, what is a pip, what is spread, to how to read a price chart, introduction to strategies, trading psychology, backtesting money management. It's like a buffet, right? You want to go through and you want to get you want to sample everything. You want to see exactly what's there. And that can take, right? What? I don't even know what the average would be. Everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has a little bit different time. Let's say 3 months, maybe. How long did it take you guys to kind of get through the full course? So some people have taken a year. So it's hard to really tell an average, right? Some people have nothing but time. This year's been different, right? A lot of people, COVID, right? A lot more time than normal. But I would say probably, George says 3 to 5 months. Probably, let's just say 3 months just to go through the course, right? So after you go through it, I always say, go through it again. And the reason you want to go through it again is this, right? The first time you go through it, you're kind of in that learning phase. Everything is kind of new. I'm actually doing this right now. I've been doing a lot of reading on volume and whatnot. And I find myself, it's weird. I find myself, it's been a while since I've been kind of, I don't want to say learn something new, but it's kind of been a while since I've taken I'm not taking a course, but have read a study on something that is very new to me. And I caught myself expecting to kind of know it at first. This isn't making sense. I just read it for the first time 2 minutes ago and I don't get it. I can't find it on a chart. And I had to go back to dude, practice what you preach, right? So I read through the whole book. I'm going to go back, read it again, take notes, and specifically the sections that relate to me. And then I'm going to practically apply it to the chart. So I say the first time you go through is kind of like an overview. Just read it to have a general understanding. Go through it to have a general understanding. The second time is where you want to go through it in more of a detailed way. So hopefully after the first time, you've discovered kind of what type of trader I want to be. Counter trend continuation, mechanical, this, that, patterns, whatever it may be. The second time you go through it, you look at the material in a different light. You relate it to how you specifically want to use it. How can I use double tops and double bottoms as a trend continuation trader? How can I use the RSI divergence as a trend continuation trader? Fibonacci retracements. How can I use that? Fibonacci extensions. How can I use that? Right? Does that make sense? You relate it to you kind of relate it to how you want to use it, and you start to see how it makes more sense, right? So that can take another 2 months. So now you're up to 5, and again we're kind of erroring on the short end of things with the 3 and the 2. So you're up to 5 months right now. Well, now the next step is you got to go develop. You got to either test or develop a strategy. Now, either one is going to take long. If you're developing a strategy, you're probably going to add on maybe another 2-3 months for that. Even if you're testing a strategy, right? I know people here that have been testing a strategy for almost a year now. But let's just say on the very short end, you're testing something, it's simple, it works the first time. Let's just say you're taking another 3 months to test a strategy, right? Now you're up to 9 months. You're up to 9 months in your trading journey, right? And this is just focusing on one thing. This is just focusing on one thing, right? We're not looking at 100 things. This is one thing, right? You're up to 9 months right now, right? After that, you've got demo trading, right? Depending on what time frame you're trading on, that period is going to be different. I always say you should, if you're maybe a lower time frame day trader, maybe 1 month, but probably another 3 months of demo trading, right? You're up to a full year. Then you go to live trading. And again, very easy in back testing, very easy in demo trading, very easy in our mind to execute things exactly the way we want to. But when that live money's in there, it's a different beast. Things start moving faster, signals are not as clear. It is a different beast, and there's going to be some psychological mistakes. There's going to be some missed trades. There's going to be some early entries. There's going to be some stop movement. There's going to be some target movement, right? There's going to be some fear. Emotions kick in, right? And again, everyone's different. I know people that have just started right away and it's like, boom, I don't make mistakes. Very disciplined. I know people that, they continue to trip over their own feet, right? But let's just say it takes you another kind of 6 months to clean up all those mistakes. Well, now you're at your magical 18-month number, right? Where you finally hit that groove. And this is with one strategy. So can you guys see how it takes, even if you're focusing on one thing, the expectation is you're not going to master it in a day. It takes time. It takes time. So the main thing is, again, we don't want to, I think creating the association that saying that it takes more time means that you need to be doing more, right? That is a false association. That is not true. That could be the furthest thing possible from the truth. And that is the truth of why many traders get into trouble, right? That is why many traders get into trouble, because they associate, in general, they associate trading with it. A lot of people they overcomplicate trading for many reasons. Some of it is because they are afraid of success. And when you make something complicated, it kind of gives you an excuse on why you shouldn't be successful, right? I shouldn't be successful because it's so complicated and I didn't go to this Ivy League school. I didn't work on Wall Street, right? Some people complicate things because they don't want to be successful, where they know if it's a very simple process, there's less excuses for them being successful. If it's more complicated, there's more excuses. But in general, right, it's not as complicated as one would think, right? The process is very simple. It's very straightforward. The execution is the difficult part, right? I wouldn't even say complicated. It's just very difficult. It's very difficult to do the right thing. Again, it's no different than a diet. No different than getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym. No different than putting more weight on because you want to build muscle mass. No different than laying off that midnight cake, right? Getting on that Stairmaster. The execution is hard. And that's where most people stumble at. Most people fail because of trading psychology. It's not that they don't have good systems or strategies or can't find entries and exits. Sure, there's a large group out there that has no idea what they're doing, but a lot of traders know what they should be doing, but just can't actually do it. But simple is better. Start with one thing. Now, again, I always think that I don't believe, and I just put out a podcast yesterday called Multiple Investments, Multiple Streams of Income, right? So you want to go and listen to that. I think it's episode 429. That's a perfect example of why I think you should always evolve. I think you should diversify. I think you should have multiple ways to attack the market, right? Just in case that one thing maybe doesn't work the way you think it would in the future. Or maybe it goes through periods of drawdowns and you want something to smooth out your equity curve. But it all starts with one. You got to get started. You got to get the ball rolling, right? And I'm a big believer of one thing at a time. Master one thing. Once you're consistently profitable trading that one thing, that opens up time to learn another thing. right? It's no different than branching out your business, right? We talk a lot about automation and delegation when it comes to business, how the goal is, once you have a business established, the goal is to find time. That's kind of what separates the self-employed from the entrepreneur or the business owner, right? Someone that's self-employed, they have their own business, but the outcome of their business is based on how many man hours they're putting into it, right? If you own a store or a restaurant and you're the only employee, you have to be there. If you're not there, the store isn't open. If the store isn't open, it doesn't make income. So how can you automate or delegate those tasks, right? An old school way is you hire employees, right? So now you have a manager. You don't have to be on site because the manager is there and they take care of everything. You can be doing whatever you want and you get a phone call and blah, blah, blah. These days you can do, e-commerce, everything over the internet. But we want to treat our trading business the same way, right? Once we're up and running with a strategy, boom, we have that strategy doing what it's doing. It's if you're a programmer, maybe it's running automatically. If not, it takes low maintenance because you know exactly what to look for. Now that extra time could be used on developing something else, right? Diversifying that portfolio. So yeah, I think you should always be looking to improve. But it starts with one thing, not doing 100 things at once. George says, so really what is hard about trading? Getting good at it, profitable, etc., is not quantity of what one must do. It is sticking to what they do have. This is hard. The rules following them. Yes. Yeah. I've told you this a million times, right? Keep it simple, right? I know you have the tendency to overcomplicate things, but try your hardest to keep it simple. You don't need to do more. Doing more is only going to get you. It's only going to cause you to take steps back. Because again, we just laid out the timeline, right? If it takes almost 2 years, right, to do one thing right, and you're working on 100 things, that's 200 years. I don't know how many of you guys have 200 years left on this planet. OG will be here forever. That's fine. You're good. I may make it to 150. We'll see. But 200, that's a stretch. That's a stretch, right? So yeah, it's focus on one thing. Focus on one thing. So trading psychology is making a simple thing, do what the rules say, sound complicated. No, not at all. You are the one making it complicated. It's not trading psychology. It is you. You are the one making it complicated. Just like I am the one making it simple. When I my learning style is to simplify stuff, and I oversimplify stuff. I got yelled at all during school for doing it. Now it works perfectly for me. It's just the best way I learn, right? We are responsible for it. Trading psychology isn't simple. It's not complicated, right? We are the ones that can make something simple or complicated. If trading psychology, if you want to simplify it, follow the damn rules, right? It's be disciplined, right? But if we want to complicate it, we can dig into, and this is, you'll read books, by Dr. Brett Steenbarger, Mark Douglas. I'm trying to think of some other people out here that wrote some good books on trading psychology. Denise Scholl. I feel like I'm missing one. Having a brain fart right now, but there's other good writers out there in trading psychology. The hard part, if you want to dig into psychology in general, and my mom was a psychology professor, is understanding the why. So it's not just, we can talk about, well, I'm making this mistake, right? I can easily identify that my mistake is entering early, right? I enter trades too early, right? And the simple solution is, well, stop doing it, right? That's where I tend to go because I tend to oversimplify things. I have a sports background where my coach just says, just do it this way, and I do it, right? That's the simple way of looking at it. But the real question behind it, if you ever want to make change, okay, well, identifying why am I entering trades early? Well, the why is a fear of missing out. FOMO, right? You're entering trades early because you fear of missing that opportunity. Now the question is, why do you fear missing that opportunity? And those who are experts in trading psychology, they can dig into all types of deeper issues. It could be something from, I've read stuff by Denise Scholl where she talks about, she works with traders, right? She works with traders on a firm and meets with them, I think, once a week. And she's talked about going all the way back to a kid. Yeah. All the way back to a kid, and how one time as a kid there was an opportunity to get money and you missed out on that money. So now you have this thing inside of you where you fear missing out on the money because it stems back to this childhood experience. I can't go there. I'm not built for that. But you can make it that complicated. You can dig into it like any other type of psychology. There are issues there, right? A good example is this. Again, Trading in the Zone is one of the must-read books in my opinion. The funny thing about that book is I learned why I was afraid of dogs, right? I had some bad experiences with dogs as a kid, and I carried that forward to me for 20 years later, right? But we are the ones that will make something as simple or complicated, and it's for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Sometimes it's used as a defense mechanism. Sometimes it's just our way of thinking. And sometimes we just think, hey, it can't be this simple. It has to be more complicated. But we are the ones that will make it as simple as complicated as we want it to be. But it's you say, and that's where it gets complicated. I see, again, it's hard for me to say because I have a very simple way of thinking. But I don't think trading psychology is complicated, right? Do what you're supposed to do, your job. Follow the rules, right? I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that. Do your job, follow the rules, right? But you can dig into that where it's like, what are your beliefs? Do you actually trust your system? And that goes back to backtesting, right? Belief, action, results, that type of cycle where if you don't believe in what you're doing, you won't take the right actions. If you don't take the right actions, you won't get the right results. You don't get the right results, then you have less belief in what you're doing, or vice versa. If you have a massive amount of belief in what you're doing, you're going to take more of the right actions. If you take more of the right actions, you'll get more of the right results. As you get more of the right results, that just builds on your belief and it gets stronger, right? You can use that cycle negatively or positively. Right? Same thing with process over outcome, that paradigm shift where it's like, hey, we need to be outcome driven or process driven. Excuse me. We don't want to be outcome driven. We want to be process driven where we value doing the right thing, following the rules over the outcome of the trade. Meaning if I have a winning trade, but I broke my rules, I need to be upset with myself. If I have a losing trade where I follow the rules, I need to be happy with myself. That's another shift that has to be made. That's a difficult shift to make as well, because everything else in life that we're taught about is outcome related. What'd you get on the test? What was your paycheck? How many cars did you sell? Right? So you can, we can certainly dig into it. It's not as simple as, it is as simple as do your job, but there are layers of how to get to that point where you can do your job. That's the how part, not just the what. The what is what needs to be done. Now it's the how can I go about doing it, and that's the part in trading psychology that can get a little bit more complicated. But the what is pretty simple. Joe says we are defined by everything that happens to us. Yeah, yep, 100%. Yep, everything. Yeah, I can't say better than that. We are defined by everything that has happened to us. That is our building blocks. That's one of the reasons I don't have any regrets about anything. I used to regret a lot of stuff in life, and then you get older and you realize like, well, okay, that doing that or having that experience is what made me who I am today. Good experiences, bad experiences, right? It says it's binary. Ones and zeros, blacks, whites, on or off. Follow the rules equals easy. Trying to explain why people don't do that. Psychology is where it gets complicated. Yeah, and again, I don't even want to use the word complicated. I think we should I think you should eliminate that word. I don't even think it's complicated why people don't follow the rules. It's one word: undisciplined. Am I wrong? Why do people not follow rules in general? Undisciplined. Why do people commit fouls in professional sports? Undisciplined. We saw, I don't know how many of you guys watched, I was watching college football the other day. Any college football fans out here? I was watching LSU versus Florida. Probably should have bet money on it. Right? LSU upset Florida, college football. I have watched zero college football this year. Right? Long story short, Florida was the favorite team to win. They were supposed to win by like 20-something points. Right? Florida made this stop at the end of the game. Right? The game would essentially have been over. And then some guy on the defense decided to, right, when he tackled the guy, he ripped the guy's shoe off, and then he threw it like 20 yards down the field on a 4th down. And guess what he got? He got a penalty. The team moved the ball forward, kicked the game-winning field goal. All because he was undisciplined. It's not complicated. He just did something dumb. He was undisciplined. He did something stupid, and it cost him. Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, you just cost you cost your team the game. You cost your team the shot in the playoffs. Like their season's basically over. I felt bad for him a little bit, not really, because he's the one that did it. But it was like it's just he had a brain fart. It just happened at a very bad moment, and that's trading is the same way. We have our brain farts. And we are undisciplined every once in a while, but it's not complicated. Again, I think you're using the word complicated to make an excuse for stuff. That we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. But yeah, moral of the story, right? Again, we don't need to do 100 things. We need to get very good at one thing. Right? We don't want to be a wannabe jack of all trades and master of none. That will get us zero. That will get you break even in trading. If you're trading 100 strategies moderately, you'll be break even, right? Do one thing, do that one thing very, very well. Once you do that one thing very, very well, if you choose, move on to the next thing and make the attempt to do 2 things very, very well. And then just keep going with that until you max out, or continue to look for ways to improve the one thing that you're doing, right? We know that market conditions change. Look for ways you become more efficient with the one thing that you're doing, and continue to improve upon that. So, any other questions about that? I thought that was a good topic. Can't believe that guy threw the shoe. Now I think I get the video. It was more about mistakes people make and digging deeper into why they make mistakes as rookie traders. Yep. I would challenge you to do this, George. Whenever you learn about something or take in a piece of content, try to make it as simple as possible. I want that to be your goal. Try to turn off the complicated brain and do the simple brain. Or do the complicated brain first and then think if there's a simpler answer. I'm worried that I will oversimplify. No, you won't. Nope. You won't. Oversimplifying is good in my opinion. Because you can always add on if you oversimplify something. If you oversimplify something, you can always add on and be like, okay, well, what's the next level of this? If you overcomplicate something, you typically get confused and discouraged, and it's overwhelming. Right? Again, if I'm making a meal and I have, here's a good example, right? So if I'm cooking steak, right? Salt and pepper. Keep it simple, right? Salt and pepper. If I taste it and it needs something else, then I put something else on. I can always add upon that, right? If I got a million ingredients in front of me, well, now I'm overwhelmed. I'm confused. I don't know what to use. I don't know what combination to make. Maybe I use all of them. Then all of a sudden the steak tastes like crap. Well, I can't do anything about it now. It's too late. It's already cooked. So you can always add on to the simple. You can always add on to the simple and expand upon it. What type of salt do I want to use? What type of pepper, right? When things become overcomplicated, they typically become overwhelming. When they become overwhelming, our heart starts to pump, our brain starts to rush. We kind of panic and get confused, and that just clouds it adds to the clouding of our judgment on things. So I think it's okay to think that way, right? Our brains are naturally programmed to think one way or another. But after you have that complicated version, think of a simplified version and see if you can meet somewhere in the middle. And that's probably the good mesh point.